Hello and welcome to live web phone call and chat support system. I am Kamran Wajdani, and in this course or series of videos we are going to build a live web phone call and chat support system. We will build with React.js, HTML5, CSS3, Firebase. And in this course we will build a complete live support system with chat, audio phone call, user presence, a backend for admins to give support to users, and a front end with user history, and user will be able to exchange files with admins. But before starting, as usual, I'll request you, if you have not subscribed to WatchMeCode YouTube channel, then please go to YouTube and search for WatchMeCode and subscribe to my channel. And please click the bell icon so you can receive the notifications about my video updates. And if you have not liked my Facebook page, then please like and follow WatchMeCode on Facebook. I have set up localhost, as I already mentioned in a couple of courses or video tutorials, and I have the main index.php, and inside index.php I have the basic structure, props.css, core.css, which is inside root CSS folder, and I have body, and inside body I have a root div element, and I have jQuery React development, React-DOM development, babel.js, and I have my core.js with PHP echo time, so our JS should not get cached by the browser. And inside props.css I have a couple of global CSS properties so that we can assign it to our UI, and we should not repeat the same CSS classes and code again and again. And inside core.css I have only body with margin and padding and a font family of Arial. So let's go to core.js, and first of all we need a couple of buttons so that whenever our visitor come to or land on our page, we should show a button about a phone call or a chat button. So if our visitor needs to start a conversation with chat, he or she should just click on the button and a chat box should appear, and if he or she wants to make a call, he should just click a button and we will start the call. Let's create a class and call it Zoos live buttons, or maybe call it actions buttons, extends react.component, And inside react.component we need as usual render, and inside render we need a return statement, and inside return let's add a div and give it a class name of ZoosLive. And by the way, we will use the ZoosLive prefix inside all of our classes. So that when we port this plugin or this system to our website, like if we are using this system inside an e-commerce website, then it should not get conflicted with existing CSS. We will later port this plugin or this live sports system to WordPress as well. So we will add, or maybe we should instead use Zoos dash, because the keyword Zoos is actually a unique keyword as well. So let's call it Zoos action, and inside div we should add a button, and inside button we will add a class name and give it a class name of Zoos btn for button, and we will add an icon class later. Let's copy and duplicate it, and we are good to go. So now we need to render this class inside our DOM, and we will directly append this class to our root element. So let's call react DOM.render ZoosLive action buttons document.get element by id __ root __. Now let's save it. Let's go to our local host, Control Shift and I, and now we have our developer console open, and now reload it. Now if we go to elements, and inside root we have those actions, and inside we have buttons. Now we need to go to ICOMon, and let's create, or go to manage, or let's create a new manage projects, and let's create a new project and call it ZoosLive, and click on board, and now we will add icons from library, and we will select a nice and decent icon set. Let's add Untitled Plus for now, or yeah, let's select Untitled Plus, click on add, and now we have a list of icons. Now we need two icons, one for chat and one for phone. Let's select a nice chat bubble, and or maybe search for phone and search for chat. Great. Select, click on generate font, and click on enable quick usage. It will generate a temporary style sheet URL. Copy, go to our index.php and paste inside head. Now we need to go to core.js, and let's add a prefix of icon and use the name of the icon. And if you want to know where I get the prefix, if you click on settings, and here it is, class prefix icon dash. You can change it, and let's change it to Zeus icon dash. Let's close it and click on disable and click again on enable. So it should generate a new temporary URL. Copy, and index.php, let's replace the URL. Go back to core and let's add Zeus icon dash, and we have phone. Let's add Zeus icon dash chat and save it. Now we need to create the CSS for these buttons, and we need to add one more class that is fixed, so our actions should stick to bottom right corner. Let's add fixed, and actually let me repeat one more time that the fixed class, I have created a couple of classes, fixed and for position fixed, rel for position relative, and so on and so forth. Now let's go back to CSS and let's add .zeus actions, and inside those actions we have .zeus dash button, .zeus dash button, and we will select first child and we will add the last child as well, and we will add the host state. Let's save it, go to localhost and reload, and now we have nice buttons for a phone call and a chat. Right click and inspect, select those actions, and for those actions we will add bottom 0 pixels, right 0 pixels, and maybe we should increase it to, let's say, 20 and 20. Great. Now let's add Z index and let's add a quite large number. Simply copy and paste inside our CSS. Save. Now let's select the button and let's add CSS for that button, and that is border 0 pixels, line height 1. Let's give a width of, for example, start with 15 pixels and shift and use up arrow key and add a height of 35 pixels as well, and we should use a large font size so that our icon should be a bit more prominent, or we can see easily. I guess okay, 24 is good. Now increase the width to, like, okay, 45, and 45 is good. Now let's add a background color of, for example, start with blue and a color of white, and let's change it to RGBA and reduce the tone. Now copy and paste inside CSS and save. Now we need to select the first child because we are on Zeus icon phone button and it is our first child. Let's add border radius of top to 20, right to 0, bottom to 0, and bottom left to 20 pixels, and it will give us a nice border radius. Now copy and paste inside first child of our CSS. Now select the Zeus icon dash chat and we have last child. Paste the same CSS and just replace the border radius accordingly, and that is top 0, right 20 pixels, bottom 20 pixels, and bottom left 0 pixels. Thanks Muhammad Suleiman for a nice comment. Now we need to add a single margin left pixels so that we can at least have a separator between two buttons. Now copy and paste inside the last child CSS. Now we need to increase the width. 55 is good. Let's update in our CSS. Well, maybe you can, or you are feeling that it is annoying to go back and forth to our developer tools and back to core.css and updating the values, but you can use your own workflow to fix the entire CSS inside developer console, and then you can simply go back to your original CSS file and you can save it. It is totally up to you. Well, let's move forward. Now we have nice buttons about our call and chat. Now let's go to one of our button, right click, force state and select hover, and for hover we will simply select the background color and we will add a nice darker tone and we will copy and let's paste inside our CSS and save it. Now we need to add button and add cursor pointer and outline to none, so that whenever we create a button, the button should acquire the cursor pointer and remove the default outline of the modern browser, which is normally the blue outline. Now let's reload, and now if we go to one of our button and if we move our mouse, now we have a nice hover effect. But one more thing, if we add the anim CSS class, then we will be able to add a nice and smooth animation effect. Now let's create .anim and add transition all 0.2 seconds, linear to 0 seconds. Now add this anim class to our button, anim and anim as well. Save and let's reload our localhost, and now we have a smooth background transition. Now we need to add a chat box for our live support plugin, so that whenever the user click on one of this button, we should just hide these buttons and show the chat support box. Let's create it quickly. Create a class and call it Zoos Live, or maybe Zoos Support Box. Extends react.component render, and inside return we will add div class name equals Zoos Sport, let's call it Zoos Box, and give it CSS class fixed, and inside our CSS let's add Zoos dash box, and let's add a comment and add Zoos Live front and support box, and add a comment real quickly, and it is Zoos Live actions buttons, aka Zoos init. Now let's go back to core.js, and now we need to add an event listener so that whenever user click one of these buttons we will render Zoos Sport box. But instead of creating one more react DOM.render, we will simply include it inside Zoos Sport box or our main Zoos component, and we will wrap it with react.fragment, and we are good to go. Now let's reload and select the Zoos box, and we will add the CSS very quickly. Let's add top 20 pixels, right 20 pixels, bottom 20 pixels, and give it a width of 300 pixels, and we will add a nice box shadow, 0 pixels, 0 pixels, 10 pixels, and a nice dark shadow. Let's add a border radius of 5 pixels. Now we need to reduce the opacity of our box shadow, and let's keep it to 0.15. Now we need to change the Z index. Now if we are adding those actions and we are adding a quite large number, we will simply add, let's say 99 for those actions, and Z index 999 for our support box. Now we need to copy the CSS and paste inside our core.css and change the Zoos actions Z index to 99. Now let's reload, and now we have a nice decent sport box and buttons. Now we have 99 and we have 999. Now we need to switch it to, let's remove it for now. I have a different plan to integrate it. Let's keep it a separate. Let's create a method and call it const Zoos init and add an arrow method, and inside those init let's keep it empty for now. Now we need to add an on click event. We will add a anonymous method or function, and we will first of all hide these use action buttons. Please don't forget we need transit.js. Let's go to Google and search for transit.js, and the transit.js is a jQuery library, and it adds a nice API of CSS animations with jQuery. We will use it, and let's click on download, and let's copy, and inside JS create a new file, call it transit.js, and paste the code and save. And let's include it right after jQuery. Now we need to reload our localhost, and I guess I have not updated the core.js. Okay, let's save and reload, and unfortunately I have okay. Now let's select the use actions and add transform translate y, and add 0 pixels, and gradually increase it by holding the shift and pressing the up arrow key. And we need to add, let's say 200 for now. Copy and go back to core.css and save it. Now if we reload, we don't have our buttons because actually they are inside our DOM, but as we have added translate by 200 pixel, it is out of our screen. Now we need to add a method of component did mount, and inside component did mount we will simply call $.use actions .transition, and inside transition we will add y to 0, and we will add a duration of 300. Let's save it and reload, and we have a nice transition. Let's add more time of 1000 milliseconds. Reload, and now we had a nice slide in animation. If we try one more time, great. Now we need to revert this code. Let's create a method and call it show, create a method and call it hide, and we will add 200. Now inside component did mount we will call this dot show, and on click we will call, or let's create one more method, and let's call it start, or let's call it start inbox, and inside on click we will call self.start inbox, and I will declare var self equals this. Inside start inbox I'll call this dot hide. Let's save it and reload, and if we we have, if I click on button, it will simply slide out of screen, and reload, we have slide in animation. If I click a button, it will slide out. Try one more time. It is sliding in. If I click, it is sliding out. Now let's add a parameter of mode, and let's pass 0 for call, and we need to create on click again, and I'll add self.start inbox, and I'll add one, and we will check if we are requesting a phone call or we are requesting the chat box. Now if we go to this support box, and we need to create, or let's copy these methods, and let's call those box and leave it for now, and replace this box, those box here, and leave it Y for now. Now we need to render the support box. Let's create constructor props, super props. Now we need to create a method and call it init, and inside init we will call it var underscore equals document dot create element, and let's call it underscore underscore those box underscore underscore, and we will call underscore dot id and give it, oops, I need to create a div, give it id of this box, and let's append it to body or over root. Document dot get element by id underscore underscore root underscore underscore dot append child underscore. Now I need to call init as well, and let's replace or move over this dot show to init. Now if we reload, we have a nice underscore underscore zeus box ready to inject. Now if we go to core.js, and we need to start inbox by calling react dom.render those support box document.get element by id underscore underscore those box, and we will pass mode as a prop. Now if we reload and let's click one of our button, we have our support box. Let's dog our developer tool to right side so we can actually see the box. Now select the box inside console, and we need to add transform translate x to 0 pixels. Now hold shift and use top arrow key and move it out of this screen. As we have width of 300 pixels, let's use 400 for now. Copy and paste inside CSS. Now we need to add a component in mount, and we will check or call this dot show. Now we need to move x to 0, and if we will hide, we will call y to 400. Oh sorry, x to 400. Let's save, reload. Now we have buttons. If I click one of our button, our box will slide in from right side, but instead of just single slide, I need to add a break effect. Let's use a chain of transition and use a -10 duplicate, and let's move it back to 0. Now reduce time to 300 and 300. Save and reload. And now if I click on button, now we have a nice slide in and a break effect, or you can call it shake effect. Try one more time. Click. Nice. Now increase the time to 400 and add 20, -20. Reload. Great. Now we have a nice animation for our sport box. Great. Let's add the header, div class name, those box head, or let's call it head. Add those rel or rel for now, and we will add h2 class name, and we will add title, those live sport. Let's add a button and add end times. Add a class name of close, and let's add ABS for absolute position. Go back to core.css, and inside those dash box we will have those head. Inside those head we have title, and we have close. We will have close hover. Save and reload. Now click on button, and now we have nice header. Go back to props. Let's add h1, h2, h3, h4, h5 and h6, and add font weight to normal, font size to 14 pixels by default. We will add margin 0 and padding 0. Now reload, and we have the h2 with default text weight. Now we need to inspect those head and add border bottom to 1 pixels HDD solid, and let's add a padding of, let's call it 15 is good. Now we need to copy and paste inside our CSS and save. Now select the close button and add top 0, right 0, bottom 0, and let's add a width of 50 pixels. Add border 0, font size to 24 or maybe 28, font family to For now I'll use Segoy UI and font weight to lighter. Now I need to add line height of 1 and I need to increase font size. Now let's change the background to dark. Click, switch to RGBA and add opacity of 0. Now we need to add padding and increase the padding, or maybe increase the line height to 1.6 or maybe 0.8, 0.9, 1 to 1.1, or maybe keep it 0 for now. Let's reduce to bottom 0 pixels. Okay, good. Now let's add color of light gray. Now copy and paste inside CSS, save, and let's select the title and add font weight to bold, font family to Segoy UI, and font size to 15 pixels is good. Farouk Ahmed, I am using React.js, and actually you can call it JavaScript. React is actually a framework. If you are not familiar with React, you can Google it. Let's select the title, copy its CSS, go back to core and paste inside title and save it. Now select the Zeus head. We need to add box sizing to border box to keep its height, or maybe let's hardcode height to 50 pixels. Copy one more time and replace inside CSS. Now reload, click on button, and now we have a nice box popping in from right. Now we need to add a nice hover effect. Let's inspect one more time and add a background. Now we need to add top 10, right to 10, and bottom 10 is good. Let's add the width to 30. Now we need to add or maybe use height of 30 pixels, line height, inherit. Let's use or change the font family back to normal or default. Remove the font family and the font weight and reduce the font size to 28, and 28 is good. Add a border radius to a nice 30 pixels. Now we need to remove the opacity. Let's copy one more time and replace the close CSS, paste and save. Now we need to add the hover effect for state hover, and we will add transform, rotate to 90 degree. Now if I mouse hover, or let's add a background color as well, increase the opacity, great, and let's change the color to a bit darker to maybe 555 is good. Copy and paste inside hover, save, go back to core.js, and let's add the anim class real quickly. Save, and now reload the localhost. Click on a button, and now we have a nice rotating animation for our close button. Let's add a tooltip, call it title, and add hide. Now we need to add on click. And let's hide self.hide. Oops, self equals this. And now we have the hide animation as well. Reload, click on button, click on close, and we have a nice slide out animation. Let's change its duration to 400. Reload. Let's try one more time. Slide in, slide out. Great. Now we need to show our action buttons whenever our box slide out. Now if we go to Zoo Sport and inside mode, we will add a hide prop, and we will add this dot hide, and inside constructor we will call this dot hide equal this dot hide dot bind this. Now inside Zoo Sport box and hide, we will call this dot props dot hide. Oops, we need to actually pass show as well. I'll call this dot show dot bind this, and we will pass show as well, this dot show, and let's call this dot props dot show. Reload, click, cross, and we have our action buttons back in. Great. Let's try one more time. Oops, we have to check if the Zeus box is already there. We need to just call its show. Well, Hamza Feroz, you are absolutely right. We should not use jQuery inside React, but as we are developing an animated UI, I am using jQuery as a container, and we will revert to core or raw JavaScript animations, or we will use CSS3 animations later. Well, reload, and now we have our buttons. Click, and we have our box. If we hide, we have our buttons back. Well, this is it for this video, and in next video we will continue with our Zeus Live Sport plugin. But before leaving, I would like to request, if you have not subscribed to my YouTube channel, please subscribe and click on bell icon. And if you have not liked or follow my WatchMeCode page, then please follow and like the page. Stay tuned. Goodbye.